Angela Bischoff.
Thank you, everybody, for hearing my concerns today. I'd like to draw your attention to a report released on June 1st of this year by the Environmental Commissioner of Ontario, Gord Miller. In it, he highlights concerns about traffic congestion in the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area. He says that congestion, quote, is far more than just an inconvenience. It imposes huge costs on the economy, the environment, and public health. He referenced the OECD claim that the GTA suffers from the worst traffic congestion in North America, which costs the Ontario economy $3.3 billion each year in lost productivity. Furthermore, growth in the GTHA is occurring twice as fast as the supply of roads and 2.5 times faster than transit capacity. So this is a big problem. Traffic gridlock is only going to get worse if we stick to the current way of moving people and goods around. Or we could get smart and entice people out of their cars and even out of the transit system and onto bikes. All the great cities of Europe are doing just this, as are the great North American cities, including New York City, Chicago, Portland, Vancouver, and Montreal. But I don't see this happening in Toronto, and today's city staff report does nothing to inspire confidence. Any progression in support of safer bikes passage, I support. That's why I do support the installation of separated bicycle lanes throughout the downtown core, and I do support the installation of off-road trails, but not at the expense of on-road bike routes. And I do not support the erasure of any existing bicycle lanes, nor do I support the proposal to scrap the Bloor-Danforth EA. Cyclists have been calling for an east-west bicycle route for decades. As early as 1990, Bloor-Danforth was hailed by cyclists as their first priority for an east-west bike route, as it's long, flat, central, continuous, and has no streetcar tracks, which are very difficult and dangerous to navigate on two wheels. In 1999, a city vehicle count found that 14% of traffic along a particular stretch of Bloor was two-wheeled vehicles, even though Bloor-Danforth had and has one of the highest car-bike collision rates in the city. 4 cyclists have died along the densest part of Bloor, 3 of them young women. Enough carnage. Toronto cyclists deserve better. In 2005, Take the TOOKER was formed to advocate for a bicycle route along Bloor and Danforth as a legacy to bicycle and climate activist TOOKER Gomberg. And in 2007, another group was born to push for bike lanes on Bloor. Last Saturday saw the 5th annual Bells on Bloor ride, which for each of the past 3 years saw upwards of 2,000 cyclists ringing their bells for bike lanes on Bloor. These have been the largest bicycle demonstrations in Toronto's history. In 2007, cyclists again identified Bloor as their #1 priority for bike lanes. And in March of 2009, cyclists presented 5,800 signatures to Toronto City Council asking for bike lanes on Bloor and Danforth. Then in February of 2009, the Clean Air Partnership published a report that found that in the annex area of Bloor, only 10% of patrons arrived by car, and that more merchants than not supported bike lanes or widened sidewalks, even if it meant less on-street parking, and that the reduction in on-street parking could be accommodated in the area's off-street municipal parking lots. So now, we're all anxiously awaiting the EA, the contract has been signed, money spent, and now city staff is recommending scrapping it, with still no safe passage on Bloor? As my mother would say, this is a sin, especially given the fact that painting a good bike lane between High Park and Sherbourne would cost merely $200,000, less than the EA itself. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for the EA, but let's do it already. It will show how it could be done, lay out all the options to consider, the more expensive options, the cheaper options. On some streets, we may need to take out parking on one side of the street, and other sections, no parking will need to be removed. But let's look at all the options. Surely cyclists' lives are worth this, and the city as a whole would benefit with less congestion on the roads and the subway. Thank you.
So